Dear Chosen One, there's a reason your soul was drawn to this message today. Maybe you've been feeling like something is shifting, but you can't explain it. Maybe you've prayed until your voice trembled, cried until there were no more tears, and still, heaven remained silent. But deep down, something inside you refuses to give up. That is not a coincidence. This silence you've been walking through wasn't punishment. It was sacred. Because when God prepares a divine breakthrough, He often starts by allowing everything to fall quiet, just before the skies explode with glory. You've been tested in ways no one saw. Behind closed doors, you've kept the faith. Even when your circumstances screamed the opposite, people looked at your life and couldn't see the promise. But God did, and He was watching the whole time. He watched you worship with an aching heart. He saw you serve others while you yourself were empty. He heard the prayers you didn't even have strength to speak. And now, He's moving. He's releasing something that will not only restore you, but confirm your calling to everyone who ever doubted it. This isn't just motivation. This is a prophetic word. God is sending breakthroughs that will break patterns, destroy delays, and mark the end of this long, silent chapter. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear may explain exactly what your soul has been sensing. And if this message already resonates, write in the comments right now, "I'm ready for the breakthrough." Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications, because what's coming is bigger than you imagined. Let's begin. You've been walking through a valley that felt like eternity. Every door you knocked on seemed to echo with silence. Every time you thought the breakthrough was near, it slipped through your fingers like dust. And yet, you kept going, not because you had proof, but because your spirit wouldn't let you give up. That's how warriors are made, not in the noise of applause, but in the quiet places where no one sees the fight. Many around you assumed you were stagnant, lost, or confused. But what they didn't know is that you were walking through a sacred preparation. God was hiding you, not rejecting you. He was stretching your soul, not punishing it. You started to feel it in subtle ways, an uneasiness in the familiar, a whisper that something was spiritually off, even if you couldn't explain it to others. People called you dramatic, too intense, overly sensitive. But what they called sensitivity was spiritual discernment. You were picking up on energetic shifts before they became visible. Just like Noah heard God's warning before the rain ever came, you sensed a storm or a blessing in the spirit realm long before it manifested in the natural. That sensitivity was a gift, not a curse. And now, you're beginning to see why God gave it to you. It wasn't so you'd break. It was so you'd know when something divine was on its way. And yet, let's be honest, there were moments when you questioned everything. You wondered if you'd misunderstood God. You replayed past decisions, searching for what you might have done wrong. You asked yourself why others seemed to be moving forward, while you felt stuck in divine stillness. But hear this, you were never behind. You were in alignment. You were in the hidden curriculum of heaven, the wilderness phase that comes before every elevation. Just like David was anointed, but still sent back to the field, your delay wasn't a denial, it was protection. God was preserving your promise from premature exposure. You see, breakthroughs don't always come wrapped in fireworks. Sometimes they come dressed as endings, painful shifts, closed chapters, and deep emotional purging. But underneath that discomfort, something holy is taking shape. It's like a seed buried in darkness. Nobody sees it, but everything is happening beneath the surface. This is the sacred paradox of divine timing. God will often let everything die, the plans, the relationships, the illusions, just before breathing new life into your destiny. You had to be emptied to be trusted. You had to lose what wasn't real, so you could receive what was always meant for you. And in the silence, God was watching how you responded. Not just what you prayed, but what you believed after the prayer. Did you still hold on when nothing changed? Did you still speak life over yourself when no one else did? Did you still walk in obedience when it didn't make sense? These are the hidden tests that separate those who want blessings from those who are ready to carry them. Your character was being refined in that furnace, and whether you felt it or not, heaven was recording every moment, because what's coming to you requires a level of endurance that can't be faked. You were being fortified in private for a glory that will be public. The story of Hannah echoes in your journey. She cried in silence. She was misunderstood, mocked, and even judged by a priest who couldn't see her heart. But God saw, and in due time, He not only answered her, He gave her something that shifted generations. What's coming to you won't just bless you. It will ripple through others. It will open doors that were never supposed to exist. And just like Hannah gave birth to a prophet, you're about to birth something spiritually significant, not just for you, but for the people who are attached to your obedience. You are the hinge that heaven has chosen for a divine turning point. You've reached the edge of the waiting. The atmosphere around you is shifting, and if you're honest with yourself, you can feel it, not in your emotions, but in your spirit. Something is moving. It's subtle, but undeniable. That heaviness you've carried for so long, it's beginning to lift. The invisible wall that blocked your progress, it's starting to crack. And as we move into the next part of this message, I need you to understand, what you're about to receive is not small. It's not a consolation prize. It is heaven's response to your hidden faithfulness. The silence is over. The breakthrough begins now. You didn't know it at the time, but the moment you chose to keep walking, when everything inside you wanted to collapse, a war was declared in the spirit. The darkness didn't attack you because you were weak, but because it saw something you hadn't fully seen in yourself yet. Authority, calling, favor. You were marked for impact, and that made you a target. What looked like random struggles were, in fact, attempts to exhaust you before the breakthrough could land. The pressure increased, not because God was absent, but because your moment was near. And darkness always roars louder right before it loses its grip. There were people assigned to doubt you, assigned to speak death over your vision, assigned to plant seeds of confusion, delay, and discouragement, and they did it with a smile. Some came pretending to love you, only to drain your light slowly. Others simply disappeared when you needed them the most. And through all of it, you kept showing up, loving, forgiving, trying. But inside, you were breaking. What no one saw was the spiritual weight you were carrying alone. The loneliness wasn't random, it was strategic. God was allowing the pruning so nothing would follow you into this next season that wasn't aligned with His hand. And then came the temptation to shrink, to become smaller, quieter, less intense, just to fit. You started questioning your own discernment. You wondered if you were the problem. But deep inside, you knew the truth. Your soul was outgrowing the place you were in. Just like Joseph couldn't stay in the prison forever, you knew this wasn't your final chapter. And yet, everything tried to convince you otherwise. The delay began to feel like denial. The silence felt like abandonment. You weren't just waiting. You were at war with the idea that maybe this was it, that maybe you were forgotten. But you weren't. In fact, the silence was a sign that heaven was working on something too big to announce prematurely. When something is truly valuable, it's hidden until it's fully formed. Think of Moses, hidden for years before becoming a deliverer. Think of Jesus, silent for 30 years before stepping into public ministry. If God delayed you, it wasn't to punish you, it was to perfect you and to protect what He's about to place in your hands. What's coming isn't fragile, it's weighty, and only a deeply prepared soul can carry it without breaking. You were misread by many, even those closest to you. They couldn't understand how you kept believing, how you still spoke life, even when life around you was falling apart. Some mocked it, others envied it, but you didn't do it for them. You did it because you knew, in the core of your being, that your promise was real, that God was not a man that he should lie. Even when your emotions didn't line up, your spirit clung to that unseen truth. That kind of faith threatens every system of control, and it terrifies the enemy, because it means you're not moved by what you see, but by what you know. And in that space, the enemy launched his most subtle tactic: internal erosion. Not an external storm, but an inner decay, the quiet whisper that said, maybe I made it all up, maybe it was just emotion, maybe I'm not as called as I thought. That's the battlefield most people never see, and that's the battlefield you survived. You didn't just endure pain, you endured the silence of God without losing your worship. You kept honoring heaven while hearing nothing in return. That level of obedience shakes realms. And whether you know it or not, it changed everything. You were never forgotten. You were being watched, and not just by God, but by the ones who will soon have to witness your rising. They saw you down. They saw you quiet. They saw you stripped. What they didn't see was the oil being pressed out of your life in private. But God saw it all, and He kept the record. And now, the season is shifting. The silence is breaking, and the very realm that tried to convince you to quit is about to watch you walk into a glory that cannot be denied. Everything that didn't make sense is about to make perfect sense. Every closed door, every delayed answer, every moment you thought heaven had forgotten you, it was never random. It was all architecture. God was building something beneath the surface, and the foundation had to be deep, because the weight of what's coming is divine. You weren't just being delayed, you were being calibrated. If God had released the blessing too early, it would have crushed you or attracted the wrong spirits around you. But now, you've been strengthened. Your roots run deep, and what's about to emerge will stand the test of time, because it's being released on God's terms, not man's. You see, when God sends a breakthrough, it's never just about solving a problem. It's about revealing His nature through your life. That's why it's taken time, because this breakthrough will be evidence of who He is. Not just a miracle, but a message. Not just a shift in your situation, but a sign to others that God still honors the faithful. And when He moves, it won't be subtle. It will be undeniable. You won't need to defend yourself, explain yourself, or force anyone to see your worth. The fruit will speak louder than words, and even your enemies will have to admit, God's hand is on your life. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 6:6, "Your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly." This is that moment. Everything you did in silence, the prayers, the sacrifices, the acts of obedience no one else saw, they've reached heaven. And the reward that's coming won't be quiet. It will be visible, public, transformative. People will look at you and say, "What happened?" And your only answer will be, "God kept His promise." Not because you were perfect, but because you remained. You endured, and that was enough. The silence wasn't just a delay, it was a shield. God was protecting your promise from warfare you didn't even know existed. If He had exposed you earlier, you would have faced attacks you weren't yet ready to withstand. He didn't say no. He said, "Not yet." And that "not yet" preserved the purity of what's now being released. You were hidden like Moses in a basket, like Esther behind the veil, like David in the field. But now, the moment has come. The stage has been set, and heaven is ready to release what was always yours. But now, you're ready to carry it. You were being prepared to reign, not just recover. This breakthrough isn't about going back to how things were. It's about stepping into what was always meant to be. God didn't just fix the broken pieces. He created something entirely new. And the reason it's taking people by surprise is because it doesn't look like a comeback. It looks like a coronation. It looks like destiny fulfilled. You were buried, but now you're being unveiled. And those who tried to count you out will have no choice but to witness the hand of God elevate you. And here's the part most people won't understand. This breakthrough is not just a gift, it's an assignment. It carries weight. It comes with visibility, responsibility, and spiritual gravity. That's why it couldn't come earlier. You had to be trusted first, trusted with power, trusted with favor, trusted with influence. And because you proved faithful in the wilderness, God is entrusting you now with authority in the promised land. You are not the same person who entered the valley. You are wiser, sharper, rooted, and ready. Don't be surprised when it all happens quickly. Heaven doesn't move on your timeline. It moves on divine alignment. And when everything lines up, what took years to prepare can shift in days. That's what's happening now. The shift won't be logical. It'll be spiritual. It won't make sense to the natural mind. But your soul will know. This is it. This is what you were built for. The long wait wasn't wasted. It was sacred. And now, the reward will speak louder than every season of silence you ever endured. So take a deep breath. The weight is lifting. The wind is changing. And the atmosphere around you is announcing something new. You're no longer in delay. You're in divine release. The same God who was silent in the cave is now speaking through open doors. The same God who watched you cry in the dark is now about to crown you in the light. This isn't hype. This is heaven. And it's happening now. With power, with grace, and with glory. There's something sacred about those who waited well. The world teaches urgency. Chase it, force it, make it happen. But heaven moves through trust, through timing, through surrender. You were never in a race against time. You were in rhythm with eternity. And that's why this breakthrough will feel different. It won't just solve problems. It will align your life with a higher frequency of purpose. It will feel like home, like peace, like the timing finally caught up with your soul. Because it's not coming from desperation. It's coming from divine orchestration. And that's what makes it sustainable. The truth is, what you've been through has qualified you in a way no title ever could. You've gained something more powerful than influence. You've gained depth. You now know what it's like to be stripped down to nothing and still choose light. You've been refined. And now, what you carry isn't just faith. It's authority. Authority to speak life. Authority to break cycles. Authority to discern what others miss. And that kind of spiritual weight doesn't come from comfort. It comes from process, from fire, from long nights where only God saw you standing. And now, heaven is sending the reward for every one of those nights. This breakthrough won't be about applause. It'll be about alignment. You'll feel it in your bones that this is what you were born for. And the beauty is, it will be effortless. Not because you didn't fight for it, but because you no longer need to force what fits. You've been prepared, purified, positioned, and now the doors that open won't require compromise. They'll require obedience. And that, dear soul, is what you've already mastered in the silent seasons. You've learned to move when God says move, even when it made no sense. And that trust has built the bridge to what's about to be revealed. You're no longer walking just for yourself. Whether you realize it or not, others are watching. Your endurance has become a blueprint. Your testimony, a roadmap. Someone who's losing hope is going to hold on because you didn't let go. Someone who is ready to give up on God will reconsider because they'll see what He did for you. That's how divine breakthroughs ripple. They never stop with the person who receives them. They echo, they spread, they awaken, and you, my friend, are the spark for someone else's restoration. This is bigger than your pain. This is about a generational shift. There's a reason the enemy fought you so hard. He wasn't just afraid of your healing. He was afraid of your impact, of your voice after the breakthrough, of your wisdom after the storm. Because when a chosen one comes out of the fire still burning with purpose, they become dangerous to darkness. And that's what you are now, a living contradiction to the plans that were designed to break you. A vessel of clarity in a world of confusion, a witness to the fact that obedience still unlocks power. You didn't just survive, you became a channel for something holy, and that changes everything. You can stop apologizing for how deep you feel things, for how much you care, for how long you've waited. None of it was wasted. The sensitivity, the silence, the stretching, it was all shaping you into someone who can carry what others only fantasize about. Some will try to minimize it, others will try to copy it, but they won't be able to duplicate the oil on your life. Because oil only comes from pressure, and you've been through enough pressure to light a generation on fire. You don't need to prove anything, you just need to be, and the evidence will speak for itself. And finally, let this truth settle deep in your heart. What's coming isn't a lucky break, it's a holy release. It's not the result of being in the right place at the right time, it's the result of becoming the right person in the secret place. You've outgrown your old season. Your roots are too deep, your soul too awake, your light too bright to be hidden any longer. This is divine timing, meeting divine identity. And the breakthrough isn't just something God is doing for you. It's something He's doing through you, for the world to see what happens when someone refuses to give up. Now, everything that once felt confusing is beginning to align. You're looking back at the moments that nearly crushed you and realizing they were actually the soil for your rebirth. You can finally see it, how the unanswered prayers were redirections, how the betrayals were revelations, how the silence was sacred ground. Nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the roots of your strength. Every detour led to deeper wisdom. The pain didn't disqualify you, it prepared you. And now, instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you're beginning to declare, "It had to happen for me." That shift in perception is the beginning of restoration. Because healing begins not when things change around you, but when you finally see the purpose within what tried to destroy you. What you carry now is different. You're not walking into this next season wounded, you're walking in wise. You're not begging for a breakthrough, you're aligned with it. You're no longer living for approval, applause, or validation. You've tasted the silence and survived. That means you carry a depth that few understand, but many need. You're not just stepping into a moment, you're stepping into authority. Your words will carry weight. Your presence will shift rooms. Why? Because it's not just energy, it's evidence. You walked through fire, but you didn't burn. You wrestled with angels in the night. And now, like Jacob, you walk with a limp and a blessing. This is your platform, not for performance, but for purpose. Heaven is placing something in your hands that will bless others, not just you. It may look like a new opportunity, a divine connection, a sudden shift, but underneath, it's a mantle, a responsibility, a sacred trust. You will be the one people point to and say, "If God could do it for them, maybe He hasn't forgotten me." And you'll smile, not with pride, but with reverence, because you'll know the price. You'll remember the nights, and that remembrance will anchor your humility and fuel your compassion. You've been chosen, not to escape the fire, but to rise from it, carrying light for those still walking through the smoke. Take a deep breath with me, chosen one, because this is not the end of your waiting. This is the beginning of your release. It's safe now to believe again. It's time to stand in what you prayed for without fear, guilt, or hesitation. The silence has broken, the weight has lifted, and heaven is in motion. This breakthrough will speak louder than the pain, louder than the delay, louder than every voice that told you it was over. So say it out loud. Even now, I receive it. And if this word touched something deep in your soul, write in the comments, "The breakthrough is mine." Truly, now my special request is that you help grow Being Extraordinary by clicking the like button below, subscribing to the channel, and activating the notification bell so you never miss another divine broadcast destined for your journey. I want to thank every soul who has supported this mission through Buy Me a Coffee. Your generosity is not only keeping this message alive, but also helping it expand. If you also feel the call to support this movement, the link is right there in the pinned comment. Now, before you go, watch the next video that's on your screen right now, or binge watch the playlist. Feed your spirit until there's no room for doubt. The prophecy is alive. The prophecy is you. See you later, and may God bless you.